Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Local Gems. My name is Ben Barber. This is the show where we talk to business owners, people that are making a wonderful impact in their communities in the southern New England area. And today I have a very special guest on, David Dadekian. He is the owner and creator of ecoRI, and he is also one of the founding members of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. And you can see him every other Tuesday, alternating with the Lieutenant Governor, hosting the Small Business Live Forum. David, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ben. Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to see you again. It's only been like 2 days, but
Right.
That's nice. And actually, when this airs, I believe, yes, when this airs, so this will air on January 25th. So
Okay.
you will have just done 4 hours, 5 hours ago, you will have just done a small business live forum.
Yep.
But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about Eat Drink RI, because I talk to you every week and I never get to hear more about Eat Drink RI. So
it's true. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the Small Business Coalition and all, politics and
Yep.
whatever Chris Parisi's cooking up for that week.
Which is great.
So,
it's fun, but
yeah,
I should note
absolutely.
I'm not actually a founding member. I came in a few months after Chris.
Someone
Tracked me down and asked me to join. I don't remember if it was Chris or Mike or one of the others, but either way, I don't want to take credit for the founding members.
As time goes by, yeah, I know. Well, I don't want to upset Jen and Chris and Lori and Justin and everybody that was there at the beginning. I was on those phone calls at the beginning as well.
Right.
Have never once shown up to a meeting. Do not consider myself part of the Small Business Coalition, and yet do work with you every week. Anyway, so yes, not a founding member. However,
Yes.
as more time goes on, that doesn't really matter because you've been there since essentially the beginning. Yes,
but Eat Drink RI.
Let's dive into Eat Drink RI. What is it? How long you been doing it? How's it going?
So I've been doing it since 2010, which is it's weird to say sometimes because I've never done any one thing for that long in my life. Really. It's true. I worked in the entertainment business in New York for many years, but that was only cumulatively about 8 years, and I went to a lot of different companies during those 8 years. The long and the short of it of Eat Drink RI is I moved back to Rhode Island in 2003. I grew up here. I grew up in Cranston. Moved back to Rhode Island from New York City in 2003, trying to make a change of pace, a different lifestyle, and kind of fell into I've always been a photographer, so I was doing photography, I was doing writing, I wrote when I worked in the entertainment business, so I got back into that. I was doing writing and photography for freelance magazines, and one day a friend of mine who's a chef said, "Have you ever done food photography?" And I was like, "No, what's that?" And I've always been very passionate about food, worked in food a little bit in New York, always loved to cook and things of that nature, so it was kind of almost second nature for me to start doing food photography and food writing, and I kept doing that, and I was doing Edible Rhode, the Providence Monthly magazines, Motif, I'm sorry, not Motif, though I have done a little bit for Motif, but it was prior to Motif. It was the Providence Phoenix,
Yep.
the old indie that's no longer with us. Was doing that for a while, and then one day in 2010, good friend of mine, Derek Wagner, who's a chef at Nick's on Broadway. I'll give Derek unintentional inspiration for this. We did a piece on charcuterie at his place for Edible Rhode. I photographed and wrote it, and when you're photographing or writing a piece like that, you gather a lot of material. I must have taken 40 or 50 pictures, and we talked for a while, and the magazine comes out 6 months later because of the printing world, and there's like 3 or 4 photos in it. And Derek said to me, "Hey, where are all the rest of the photos? I'd love to see them. What do we do with them?" And this was 2010, so it was just Facebook wasn't really quite there yet. It was just kind of on the cusp. but I knew how to build a WordPress website. So that's what I did. I just Googled, what name would be good to create a WordPress website about food and drink in Rhode Island. And I found Eat Drink Rhode Island, eatdrinkri.com, and put together a website. And 12 years later, here we are. I mean, it really feels like that some days. I mean, I started doing events. I again, in the entertainment business in New York, I worked with events. And so it was kind of something I brought back to myself here in Rhode Island. I built a festival, did a very large scale festival for 8 years. Sadly, COVID put the kibosh on that. Haven't had a festival since 2019, but we'll hopefully get back to bigger events as time goes on. I'm not sure if the 1,000+ people event thing is eating and drinking event is really feasible at the moment. And definitely in talking to a lot of the folks I work with, a lot of small businesses that do food and drink. I mean, that's my focus. My focus is basically, as you would imagine from the name Eat Drink Rhode Island, local food and drink, chefs, restaurants, but also a lot of products. There's tons and tons of products in Rhode Island now. They're
so many products.
Yeah. And so I would do showcases of this or tastings or gather people around dinners for these things. And in talking to those folks over the last 2 years, I mean, obviously it's very difficult. And I'm not sure when we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, I've joined the Small Business Coalition board. I'm on 2 other boards. I joined the board of Eating with the Ecosystem and ecoRI News. Keeping myself busy doing media work, like you mentioned, the show we do every other week. I have some other media work that I've done for Cox Cable. I enjoy it. It's kind of this old merging. It's funny. It's this old merging with the entertainment business that I did back in the 90s and early 2000s. And
so I'm going to need you to tell me more about the entertainment work that
Sure.
you did in New York, because that's music to my ears. I'm very excited to hear more about that. I can't believe I didn't know about it.
It's it's not really a piece of my history that I speak about much. Not that I'm not ashamed of it or anything like that. It's just old. It's just that it's a long time ago. I went to NYU. I went to NYU for film and television.
Yep.
Stayed in New York. I had a brief fling with going to LA and trying to get into the movie business in LA, and I hated LA. I've since warmed a little bit to LA because my brother lives out there. He cuts movie trailers. So I haven't been out there as much in the past few years since we've had.
What was so when you went to NYU? Sorry to cut you off. When you went to NYU and you had the dreams of going to LA, what specifically in the film and television industry were you looking to do? Were you looking to act? Were you looking to be a director?
No, I wasn't. Well, yeah, as you know, most of us who go to NYU, and I'm sure this is still true to this day, we all go to NYU think we're going to be the next Steven Spielberg or Wim Wenders or whoever your favorite director may be. I'll always remember. First or second semester, I had a great professor. He was just a riot of a guy. He came from Poland, had a bit of an accent, but just brilliant filmmaker. And he just said to the class, we all get there. There's like 30 of us in the room. And he says, I know many of you here, want to be directors. And I know many of you here have that one Led Zeppelin song you want to put in a montage. I just look at that. I always remember that. It always stuck in my head. Like, you're just knocking us all right down right from the get-go.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep.
And then when I don't know, for people out there who are unaware, Led Zeppelin has been notoriously strict about not using their movies in any media since they wrote it in the late 60s, early 70s. And when Taika Waititi actually got them to get permission to use Immigrant Song in Thor Ragnarok, I mean, the grin on my face. When I see that scene, it's a brilliant movie anyway, but that scene always cracks me up because I'm like, someone finally did it. This young kid from New Zealand finally figured it out.
I would personally really love to use "Thank You" in a in a trailer. That would be my movie. I'm not in a trailer, but in a movie.
I get it. Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah. So I thought I'd be a director. Obviously, as I got more into it and over the 4 years of NYU, and when I went to LA, I looked more towards writing, and I really enjoyed writing. I've done a lot of, in addition to the nonfiction stuff, the writing for magazines, things of that nature that I've done. I did a little fiction writing and screenplay touch-ups, things of that nature in the 90s. Nothing that anyone would know, or I worked on some X-Files adjacent projects and things of that nature, but again, nothing that anyone would really know. but it was fun. It was great. It was really enjoyable. It was really entertaining. You know, to be able to enter that world, even as, you know, just you know, a guy working at, you know, for a couple of years there. I worked at TV Guide and news. I worked with a lot of sports. I don't know anything about sports, but I worked with MLB, the NHL. You know, I went to a few. My wife always laughs. I went to a few MLB All-Star games, and, you know, I didn't know anything about it, and but it was always fun. It was a trip, and so I did that for quite a while in the after returning to New York from LA in the mid to late '90s. Then I started freelancing. I did some freelance work for Lego, Sony, Viacom. And then I worked at an internet startup that was looking at streaming video. It's weird. I say this very, you know, much with a grain of salt. I don't want people to think I'm being serious, but I was one of the first people to ever use streaming video. This was 97, 98. You can actually see, I still have it. You may have seen it in my office before. It's a chair that I received. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Real Video, Ben?
Yeah.
So this was February 10th, 1997. This was the first ever live stream in the world, and I did it. And it was, again, no one knows because it's so, you know, minor in the annals of history. But yeah, I guess if I did it, if I had more foresight, if I was more of a venture capital, you know, insane techno guy, I probably would have started YouTube or something ridiculous like that. But unfortunately, that was not in the cards for me.
Well, that's the best story ever. I can't believe that I just got that out of you. I
haven't told that story in ages. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love it. This is fantastic. I can't believe all the different lives you've led. And that's wonderful. And if, you know, for a while, it felt like, and this was maybe like early 2010s. It felt like Rhode Island was having a strong push to try to become one of those hubs for the entertainment industry, right? Like Georgia right now is really huge.
Huge.
Is absolutely huge. There's so many things that are being filmed in Georgia, and sometimes you're watching like TV shows and movies, and at the end it just pops up with the peach and it says made in Georgia, and you're like, everything is made in Georgia right now.
Right.
Like, it's insane.
It is, and you know, I don't know if Tyler Perry built this enormous facility in outside Atlanta. I mean, he's really invested a ton into it. So yeah, it is the place to make movies now. Yeah.
So there was some talk. There was some talk for a while about like a studio being built somewhere off Exit 2, and here in Rhode Island, and like and I only know that rumor from being, I mean, I was a Chariho kid, so but there was a lot of talk like 10 years ago or so of trying to attract more. Obviously we have, you know, some filmmakers that lived in Rhode Island, so then they made films here, like the Farrelly brothers. But I don't know, man. I think you and I need to put a little bit more pressure on the governor and the people that we know in politics to get more to get more things made in Rhode Island.
We do have a strong
we have a strong one. We have a strong one. We should be always trying to. Hocus Pocus 2 was just made.
Right.
Was just made here. Yeah,
I mean, but if you can attract Disney money, I mean, you know, Disney owns.
Absolutely.
It was funny watching the Disney progression over the last 10, 15 years, because I was a huge comic book freak in the 80s and Star Wars and you know, and of course when I was younger, all the Disney movies. So I would just slowly watch Disney like eat up my childhood. Like, they own it all. They own everything that I really loved and cared about from 71 to you know, to the late 80s when I was a kid, you know.
By the way, speaking of Rhode Islanders doing huge things out in the entertainment industry, big shout out last week on Local Gems. We had Ryan Saunders of the Chorus of Westerly, and Chorus of Westerly alum and brand new Tony Award winner Andrew Burnap. Was he won the Tony for Best Actor in a Play this year, which was massive. A couple years younger than me, went to URI, and he just got announced last night, as you and I were recording this, it just got announced last night that the new Disney live action Snow White.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, but he's
He
not the prince. I
he's
saw the
not the
headline.
prince.
Yeah,
He's not the prince, but he's the male lead. They're
right.
creating a new character, and it is him.
I did see that. Cool.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I think I think we should bring more of an entertainment focus back to Rhode
I'd
Island.
love to see it, especially, it's amazing. You and I, we've had this conversation, in the past offline, just, even before we got on here. I mean, what you can do now with the stuff that's in my office here,
Yep.
is mind blowing. I mean, I edited when I was at NYU, I edited on film, 16 millimeter film. A funny, not so funny story, but in spring of '93, you had to book that edit suite for 8 hours or 4 hour chunks, and I booked 8 hours because I had a whole 16 millimeter 10-minute short that I wanted to edit. It was my big senior film, and you have to, you take your work print and then you go in, and for anyone who has no idea, because this was, no one does this anymore. You have to cut the actual negative, and you can't make a mistake because that's your only copy of your film, and then you cement it together. So I was in this edit suite. This was spring of '93, from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Went back to my dorm, and didn't talk to anyone. I was so at 5 o'clock after 8 hours, that I was very in my head, and just went right back to my dorm. Walked in, there was two or three messages on my answering machine. I click, and people are like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" It was the day of the first World Trade Center bombing, and I had no idea. It was one of those things that stick out of my head because of that. But yeah, editing on film was a beast, and now you can do it all on your computer. I mean, actually, it was funny. Just as I was graduating from NYU, like the month before I graduated, the video department at NYU got this thing called an Avid, and they let me play with it. They let me play with this thing, and I was like, this is, especially just after editing my 60 millimeter film on film, I was like, this is fantastic. I can move clips around. I could change the, I was like, this is amazing. I was going all around the school. Like, anyone I ran into, any professors, like, have you seen this Avid thing? This is amazing. I'm so, kind of bummed I'm graduating. I never thought about going to graduate school, but either way, I was like, this is the way of the future. And all these guys, who are teachers, who, in their 60s, they're like, no, that's never going to catch on. No one's going to use that stuff. That's ridiculous. And I was like, no, this is it. This is the thing. And once again, I was a little happy to be prescient, but it had no connection to the business side of it in that sense. I just was very excited by it.
It's crazy, the amount of things that you can do from anywhere now. Not only like can you edit anything from anywhere, but we have cameras set up in different places right now that I control fully on my computer in real time. So I'm producing things without camera people in the room, just the cameras, and there's full sound and full everything, and I'm the person panning and doing everything that you need to do for the camera, while and I have 3 of them coming in at the same time, and I've never been to this place, and I'm producing things for people in California. It's like the world is crazy now, and a lot of necessity is the mother of invention, and a lot of wonderful things have been invented in the past. So unfortunately, I have to wrap this one up a little bit quicker than I would like to.
Okay.
Would you please come back again to talk more? Maybe we can talk about the Small Business Coalition a little bit.
Sure.
And what is next? What can people expect right now from Eat Drink RI?
So right now, primarily, I'm focused on the media side of things. So starting to put together some videos and more clips. I have a YouTube channel which I just kind of started over during the pandemic. It's been odd, interesting, because I have a very large social media following on Instagram and Facebook, because I've been doing it for many years. And then I start this YouTube thing up, and it's like, I don't know, 150 maybe subscribers. So I'm like, why is this? I got to figure out how to make that click a little better and get more people over to that. But so there's that. But yeah, if you go to eatdrinkri.com, right up across the top of the website are all the links to all the socials and the YouTubes and all that. So that's really where my focus is, on the media side of things. And then I'm also we're really ramping up. I've been with Blackbird Farm as a consultant for the last 13 years, almost 13 years now. And we're ramping up a lot of interesting things going on there. The local food buying is really I hate to say benefited from the pandemic, but it has in many ways, because people have
Yeah.
seen, as you've probably seen from empty grocery store shelves, that the national supply chain has been difficult. So the farm's doing really well. BlackbirdFarmRI.com is that website, and those are my two real focuses right now. But Eat Drink RI will always be my thing since I started it.
Awesome. Well, all of those links can be found in the description of this video. If you're watching the video version or the podcast version, wherever you're watching or listening to this, you can find that. And you can also find David on the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition's Small Business Live Forum every other Tuesday opposite the Lieutenant Governor's Small Business Town Hall. That is live on the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition's Facebook page. And also, you can now get it on Spotify and iTunes immediately afterwards as a podcast. You're welcome. So thank you so much, David. And I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That has been Local Gems. And man, he epitomizes what a local gem is. And I could not be happier to have his friendship and to learn more about him. I loved this, and I wish that it had gone an hour and a half. But unfortunately, I scheduled things a little bit too tight today, so I can't wait to have him back on soon. He will probably be my first repeat guest, because honestly, there were like 95 different topics that I wanted to go into more detail with. And yeah, support local. Eat Drink RI is amazing, and if you want to find out great places to eat and drink in Rhode Island, literally there's no better place. This has been Local Gems. We'll see you next week.